Greetings, YouTube. Yesterday, Dr. George Tiller was murdered while acting as an usher at his church. Dr. Tiller ran a clinic that provided late-term abortions for women who required them. It is important to note that late-term abortions that were being performed were not being done so because the woman wanted them. They were being done because of medical necessity. That either the woman's health was at risk or the fetus she carried was doomed to die. Fetuses that didn't have brains, spinal columns, or missing major organs, things like that. Heartbreaking situations. Women who really didn't want an abortion, but whose fetus was never going to live, and they knew it. And so they ended that fetus's existence before delivery, because they would have essentially been delivering a corpse. The pro-life movement has been hounding Dr. Tiller for about 20 years, and in 1993, one of them attempted to murder him and shot him twice. Just recently, his clinic was vandalized for thousands of dollars of damage. And now, the pro-life movement has apparently succeeded in stopping Dr. Tiller and his efforts. Dr. Tiller should be lauded for what he did. He helped women who were in one of the most miserable, horrible states of being that you can imagine. He aided them the only way he could by performing a legal medical procedure that they required. The person that murdered him, of course, broke the highest law that any society holds: do not kill. The great irony for me, of course, is that the people who are going to support the death of this man label themselves pro-life. But apparently, an existing, living, breathing human being that does something they don't agree with isn't deserving of life. And ending the existence of a fetus is something that should be outlawed. But a fetus isn't a human being. I freely admit that it's human. It carries a human genetic code, but it is not a human being. A fetus does not become a human being until birth. Late-term abortions are not easy to get. After the 24th week, everyone pretty much agrees that the fetus should be allowed a shot at delivery. But there are situations where that just isn't going to be the best for the mother or the fetus. Babies are born all the time that have defects that are just incredibly, horribly dangerous. I can remember seeing a documentary once about dwarves, and sometimes a dwarf would deliver a fetus that has a double level of dwarfism. Happens when both parents happen to be dwarves. And the doctor being interviewed said, that baby, that condition is not conducive to living, which is a horrible concept. It really brought to mind to me, really in a concrete manner, that sometimes the genetic code is stacked against you. Dr. Tiller did a great thing. He performed legal medical procedures for women who needed them, in the face of 2 decades of opposition, of being hounded, being picketed, of being told on a daily basis that you were a murderer, when in actuality, he was no such thing. The person that shot him, however, who I believe has been apprehended by the authorities, is going to be charged with murder, is going to be tried, and very likely going to be found guilty of the crime of murder. Because that's what this person is, a murderer. That they use the label pro-life, I'm going to take a gamble here and say that they're probably going to consider themselves to be a member of the pro-life movement. Doesn't really come into play. Because someone that pulls a trigger while pointing a gun at another human being doesn't believe in life at all.